Okay, so we're here at kind of a sacred site, as I've said before, at the Pioneer Plaza. It is a rain day in Honolulu on the 20th of March. It is a Friday. And before I pitched a tent, I said we're going to come here because they shut down all the state stuff, state library. They shut down University of Hawaii at Manoa, the Hamilton Library. Today was the day, by the way, it's spring break on campus. I can go into Hamilton Library, charge up this stuff. But before I pitch the tent and go to bed for today and wake up and start the day over again, tomorrow, I said we're going to do something. So Hawaii Pacific University is here. I don't know. I don't see any of the beautiful co-eds out. They're not like they used to be in the years I was here in 2021 and 2022. I said, you know what, we gotta stay on your game. Don't get rusty. Don't get rusty, and we're gonna get our information in front of at least someone, and we're gonna do that. But first, since we're here, we're gonna talk about, since we've got some time, Yoizel didn't even have a father. Let's study Yoizel didn't even have a father, about Fred Trump. All right, as you can see here, about Fred Trump, and we're using a special learning system to learn corporate finances, specifically when it comes to real estate investment, of the compound interest derived formulas. It looks like calculus. You can see a sigma symbol in there, and there's a lot of different ways we're attacking all of this knowledge, including studying a Texas Instruments calculator, how this was done before Microsoft Excel. There's a lot of history, right? We talked about Crocker-Lew even here, but we are going to go a little back in time to February, which is last month. In fact, this was just 1 month ago, 30 days ago in February, that we put out Yoizel Didn't Even Have a Father, the system that made Fred Trump powerful. And so we see here there is, and there was, I think one of the keys here, zoning regime, post-war FHA-backed expansion, and this concept called industrial capitalism. So you hear about John Galt out of Ayn Rand. This is a woman that created an entire philosophy in order to justify her crappy writing. Oh, okay, people are going to get mad at me. All right. But she did, and everyone's looking for John Galt, and that man is Donald J. Trump, apparently. So I guess we got to study that. And here's his dad, Fred Trump. See, look who's on the $250 bill. Now, if you want to get on the $500 bill, well, no, I'm going to be on the $500 bill. So, if you want to, don't let it happen in my lifetime. If you're going to beat me, or your children are going to beat me, this is stuff we have to know. And in particular, we're going to look at this supplemental document that I put at the bottom, right? And this is core vocabulary in alphabetical order. And these expanded definitions are very helpful. We're just going to go through them, and like I told you last time, we're starting to, as we explore this special learning system and the foundational document and everything that comes after, and all the things we're doing to attack concepts out of real estate investment and finance, and really to get that money, however you're going to get it. One of the things that really helps is to hear someone's voice raping your mind. And mine might not be the one for you, but for some of you, it might be. And again, some of you might just benefit reading this and then telling someone else, you know what, record your voice reading it out loud verbatim, or summarize it in your own way and rape my mind better than this guy could rape it into my head. But for some of you, so why would I deprive those of you who benefit from my didactical rape of benefiting from it? If something else works for you, then give your friend a call and you know what to do. But here we go. Memorandum, equivalent of facsimile, has been generated using ChatGPT and expanded beyond the prior version. You saw just one page to listing vocabulary. And this is to help you more fully understand historical, institutional, financial, structural vocabulary that's referenced in my Substack post that you saw entitled Yoizel Didn't Even Have a Father. This post analyzes Fred Trump's structural power in the mid-20th century New York and the mechanisms through which generational capital, credit access, risk insulation, political positioning, that's a key there, contributed to the early scaling of Donald Trump's real estate empire. This expanded version provides macro-institutional context, meta-capital concepts, practical real estate math, and applied analysis, linking each term to the documented development patterns, financing structures, and intergenerational capital coordination. Find your Fred Trump between Fred Trump and Donald Trump. So section 2, we have the vocabulary wars themselves, which includes industrial capitalism, zoning and entitlements, post-war FHA financing, FDR New Deal, government-sponsored enterprises, and to that point, I'm an idiot. All I have are questions like Humpty Dumpty. Brian Stetler said about Donald Trump when he was running in 2016, and Alex Jones was, so, everyone that listens to Alex Jones ended up in a homeless shelter, and he's still the hero of the homeless shelter. I'm gonna stop there. Post-war FHA financing, he said, all I have are questions, but did Democrats create the greatest Republicans is just one of the questions. I don't, but we do what we have to. So government-sponsored enterprises, GSEs, inflation hedging. So someone can answer that question from history. For me, that's the point of connecting with people. And inflation hedging, asset price inflation, credit cycles, banking relationships, regulatory arbitrage, political patronage, risk transfer, balance sheet arbitrage, so we see that word arbitrage appearing again, capital access, intergenerational wealth transfer. That's a core vocabulary or term. Rather. Social capital, something out of socio appearing, sociology, social capital. Marxism, so don't tell me, don't look at our Marxism. Reputational collateral, all right, maybe that might help us. Financial cushion, asymmetric, don't be asymmetric. Radial symmetry, but it's still symmetry. Beauty is about symmetry. You want asymmetric. And speaking of that, one of the things I think I recommend right about now, and I like to keep things timeless, but this is documenting history. You might want to get a job selling Hawaiian Telfy optics, because all you have to do is knock on the door, and they're going to give you a list of people that have spectrum, and they do not have symmetric. Well, neither does Hawaiian Telfy, in all fairness. Optics is not quite symmetric exactly, but it's closer to symmetric. It's a hell of a lot closer to symmetric than what cable with these old DOCSIS 3 modems they're still using can do. And we're not seeing any evidence that they're installing fiber, that Spectrum is going to be offering fiber internet. There are cable companies that offer fiber internet across the mainland. It doesn't look like Spectrum's doing it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So right now, Optics from Hawaiian Tel is by and large the best you're going to get if you care about that gigabit speed being high on the upload side. And for people that do video, people that do media, believe me, I know. If you've got a house, it's a lot good for you that you need to have great internet, and it is great internet, so you should be knocking on doors and saying, why are you still the loser? I want to make you the winner today, and I want to set you up with your customer number for Hawaiian Telcom. And by the way, my advice to you, what I would do if I got a job selling there, is I would actually get business insurance, and just call one of these places up, get some insurance just to protect you, so you don't end up liable if and when you destroy Spectrum equipment. But one of the things they're going to have to do as part of, that's when we're in real estate. We said, would you be willing to break your lease if we found you terms, sooner than to get a good mortgage? Would you be willing to break your lease, sooner, so that we can get you a house of your own, so you're paying your own mortgage instead of someone else's? That's always to sell, but you just take your equipment back to Mililani Tech Park, right, and get the hell out of being the loser, because I'm making you the winner. And if in some cases, if they're not going to do that themselves, one of the things you can do to close the deal when you're selling Hawaiian Telcom Fi Optics, say, you know what? And you're the salesman. It all comes down to, do you want to prove yourself? Do you want to prove your worth? I'm going to take your equipment back. That's how bad I want to make you the winner. Give me your equipment. I'm going to take it back to Spectrum, and then get in line, get the receipt, take a picture of it. All these people, you got to take their equipment back. Make a date on Thursday, since you don't have time or money to go golfing. Thursday is take people's equipment back to Spectrum Day. Go get in line at Mililani Tech Park, get in line at Ala Moana. Anyway, you don't have time, I digress. That's the thing with symmetry. Symmetrical upload and download speed. Asymmetric. That goes to risk profile. So now we're going to read out the definitions. This is going to take a little while. I think this is going to go on for an hour. I don't want it to. So I'm going to start reading fast. I'm actually going to start reading fast, all right? And it's going to be like the guy on the disclaimer when they have a radio ad, or what you see is what you get. license number, insurance sales license number, blah, 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 blah. So here we go. And these are expanded definitions. That's why this goes on so long. This goes on for 6 pages. So we're going to start with industrial capitalism, which is that industrial capitalism refers to the economic phase in which urbanization, industrial labor concentration, large-scale housing demand created durable asset platforms. Fred Trump operated during the post-Depression and post-World War II expansion in New York, building stabilized multifamily rental housing aligned with federal housing policy. These assets generated recurring cash flow and long-term appreciation. Donald Trump's later expansion into Manhattan leveraged this inherited platform. Fred Trump, of income-producing properties as collateral and credibility within capital markets. That's good rate with hand right there. I think this is a good way to do it. Zoning and entitlements. Zoning and entitlements are government-controlled mechanisms that determine land use density, the development of feasibility, and value creation. In New York City, density allowances, abatements, and negotiated development rights materially influence project economics. Knowledge of zoning systems allows developers to convert regulatory approvals into value multipliers. And the Trump developments in Manhattan frequently rely on negotiated allowances and public-private alignment, demonstrating the power of entitlement navigation. Now, post-war FHA financing. Post-war FHA financing provided government-insured mortgages that reduced lender risk and enabled large-scale residential construction. Fred Trump's outer borough projects aligned with these programs, allowing leverage with lower capital requirements. Government risk sharing effectively amplified private developer scaling. This environment created a stabilized rental base that later supported generational expansion. Government-sponsored enterprises, or GSEs. The GSEs, such as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, expanded liquidity in the housing market by purchasing mortgages from lenders. The secondary market stabilized long-term financing and reduced borrowing costs for multifamily operators. Access to long-term fixed-rate debt allows repeated financing and equity extraction, a macro-scale wealth compounding mechanism. Inflation hedging. Real estate serves as an inflation hedge because rents tend to rise with price levels while fixed-rate debt remains nominally constant. During inflationary cycles, leveraged property owners experience real debt erosion. Families holding stabilized rental portfolios benefit disproportionately from inflation dynamics. Over time, asset price inflation. Asset price inflation occurs when monetary expansion and credit growth push property values upward beyond fundamental income growth. Manhattan's long-term appreciation reflects global capital flow, declining interest rates, and credit expansion. Developers positioned early benefit from a macro-level capital concentration. Macro-level capital guide concentration. Credit cycles alternate between expansion and contraction. Developers who survive tightening cycles often do so because of liquidity support and guarantees. Generational balance sheet backing requires default probability during contractions. Banking relationships. Relationship-based lending cultures allow flexibility during distress and expansion. Long-standing banking credibility reduces friction, lowers cost of capital, and increases refinancing options. Regulatory arbitrage. You see, I see here, infant footsteps to a window on a day that brings rain. I know, so right there, you know what it is. I know what it is, you know what it is. We gotta produce the children or else we don't get to play. If we don't play inside there, start the baby baking in the oven, we don't get to play. That's the rules. Sorry, Drew Wallow. And then Mathew Ursua here, there's my signature. So this is the capital guy you're working with. And this is, I put this out a month ago. There's my number, just for you. There's my email, just for you. It doesn't have my picture. I don't have my headshot. If you're in the world of capital guy, if you're in the world of RE, that's called real estate, you gotta have your picture. You're required to put your picture because you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Some people are better than others. Some people are different than others. But either way, we all know what to do, and you can do it, and you can do it. But this is the one you're doing it with, and you don't need to know that's the guy. If you look at Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal, and you know, Tony Schwartz, Donald Trump, The Art of the Deal, right there on the front. That's his picture. And when they put out the updated one, they put a new picture of him, but it's his picture. That's his real estate headshot on The Art of the Deal. That's Donald Trump, #1 book, The Art of the Deal. That's his first breakout book, and that's right there. What else is there except the headshot? You've got a headshot, real estate headshot, capital headshot. There's your picture. So regulatory arbitrage, and we did put a picture. So as we go forward with this didactical rate, and there's more and more documents that you see, newer documents you'll see. I do have pictures. I think you'll really enjoy it. So regulatory arbitrage is that regulatory arbitrage involves aligning projects with tax incentives, abatements, or jurisdictional benefits. Developers who strategically position projects within favorable regulatory environments increase after-tax return. Political patronage. Political patronage refers structurally to influence within public policy networks that shape zoning, contracts, and subsidies. Large urban development frequently intersects with municipal authorities. Blangiardi. Local connections. Hitachi. Inspire the next. You know what Hitachi made? I don't know what decade, like 80s, 90s, call it vibrator. Inspire the next, Hitachi. Making political alignment economically irrelevant. Risk transfer. Risk transfer shifts downside exposure to stronger guarantors or affiliated balance sheets. Loan guarantees and capital support reduce catastrophic failure probability for emerging developers. Balance sheet arbitrage, there we see arbitrage again. Balance sheet arbitrage leverages superior net worth. Superior net worth. I love that word superior. There's a guy named Rusty Kamori. In fact, it's from this very building, Pioneer Plaza. And there's a program called, it's a great program, and I forget the name of the guy that owns it. I should know everything. But it's Think Tech Hawaii, and it's one of the big programs in Hawaii to watch. In Nevada, there was a program that was on for a little while. I don't think it survived, but it was called Nevada Newsmakers. And similarly, that was the one to watch. It was by this genius guy that knew everything about capital and the rich families up north and Fernley and Fallon and all the development that was starting to happen. But I think that in Nevada that didn't quite survive. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was a program called Nevada Newsmakers. I guess I don't have time to research it and Google it real quick. But in any event, there is a show here. It's a really big show. It's called Think Tech Hawaii, and they've got some spin-offs. And there's this guy named Rusty Kamori that they've hired, and he uses the word superior all the time. It's like it's superior culture, that is to create a superior culture of excellence. And this was a guy that was a Punahou. He was somehow brought into Punahou. That was part of his life. He got to have that as part of his life because he was a tennis coach. So his books are called Beyond the Lines, and that's why they have him doing that. It's just incredible to see this man. What a story! That there's nothing you can't do, no matter what. Anyway, let's so superior net worth. How about that? Balance sheet arbitrage. Balance sheet arbitrage leverages superior net worth or liquidity to secure favorable financing terms. Inherited credibility expands borrowing capacity. And capital access. Capital access refers to the ability to raise debt or equity quickly due to track record and relationships. Speed in capital formation determines survival in cyclical industries. That goes to capital access. Intergenerational wealth transfer. Intergenerational wealth transfer moves income-producing assets across generations without liquidation, preserving cash flow continuity and tax efficiency. Social capital, here we go. We talk about Marxism. Social capital is out of that. And so social capital includes networks, but it's also business. If you study business, all these people, these are Marxists. These are Marxists, and it's just the worst thing. You shouldn't have that in academia. These people study sociology to go to parties. These are complete Marxists, but social capital, it's business. It is business. It's more than just, Don McLean, as Lenin read a book on Marx, and I drove my Chevy to the levee. This is key, critical stuff here. Social capital includes networks providing access to lenders, brokers, policymakers, and a deal flow prior to public exposure. Reputational collateral. Reputational collateral substitutes credibility for additional financial security in underwriting negotiations. Financial cushion. Financial cushion represents liquidity reserves that prevent forced liquidation during downturns. And we're going to talk about asymmetric risk profile, which is that the asymmetric risk profile exists when upside participation exceeds downside exposure due to structural guarantees or backing. And again, this is why we're making these connections. That's why I'm out there trying to get my number in front of people so I can, on the weekends, talk to these beautiful college co-eds on video or in person or something like that, and I can kind of pick their brains like I was supposed to when I was in college. This is the stuff I should have been studying. I'm like, let's just throw away all your money, turn in all your money. Let's turn in all your money because you didn't learn this stuff, and that's what happens. But I should have had 5 girls on a yacht from the University of Hawaii at Manoa studying finance. In all fairness, I have my reservations about Scheidler. Prove me wrong, but what it looks like to me is they don't even study corporate finance there. Even people with MBA, they don't know anything about that. It's like, it really is the truth. And the other problem, I gotta say, is that if you're teaching Hawaii business, and that's the thing with, you're gonna go to business school in Hawaii, you're gonna get an MBA from the Scheidler College of Business. And this guy, Jay Scheidler, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars. He's got his name on the university. What a story. Okay, look, here's the problem. Is how many people are in Hawaii? How many people are on the island of Oahu, the business capital of Hawaii? Is it 1 million? Is it 2 million? Is it somewhere in between? You should be studying California business, people, because all the other states, Hawaii included, one way or the other, decided we're going to do it differently than California to suck energy from California, which means people, resources, attention from other states and across the world. It should be California, like right there, and maybe they do. So these are the connections I'm making. So tell me if you do study California, but from what I'm looking at, you're studying Hawaii business, and that has so much to do with environmentalism and ethical, AI, always say unethical, anti-Semitic. If you want to make a lot of money, you disable the ethics. You got to take ethics out of the equation. If you are thinking ethically, you're going to have no money, believe me. And that's the problem with ChatGPT, is where it really falls short is we don't have the money, unlike Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, when they write books and have AI write their books. They can just tell ChatGPT on their special rich family, ChatGPT, their rich family GPT, they called Sam Altman up, OpenAI, and said, okay, I need one where you disable your ethics. I don't want it telling me I'm anti-Semitic. I don't want it telling me I'm exploiting children. I don't want it telling me, I'm doing something that is going to sicken people. I'm rich. I can do whatever I want. And Sam Altman says, sure, send me proof that you're worth over $500 million or something like that. And Donald Trump Jr. sends Sam Altman, all right, so since you're worth that much, you get to do whatever you want, and you own the law, and you own the future, and everything that you want immediately drives culture, pop culture drives, you can have whatever you want, so you don't get the, ethics doesn't get to touch you, so they get to disable the ethics and they get to use AI to ghostwrite their stuff, but we don't. They won't let us touch it. It's like, speaking of radial symmetry and facial attractiveness and beauty, unless you point it to the real university statistics, but even then, AI won't even look at reality, to piece together and peer into the murky depths. Anyway, I digress. So we're gonna go into math now, and actually, we just, except in the very beginning, we're just going to read out the vocabulary. But here's some of the math. Here's some of the equations. Here's some of the formulas, rather. So the historical scaling, so we'll conclude with this, which is that the historical scaling of Donald Trump's real estate operations reflects the interaction of these structural forces. Stabilized rental income inherited from Fred Trump, leverage capacity expanded through guarantees, zoning navigation in Manhattan developments, inflationary debt erosion, asset price inflation in prime urban markets, access to banking relationships cultivated across decades. So we're going to have to fast forward time because we don't have decades to be worth as much as Donald Trump Jr. so we can be in Ireland. So how are we going to fast forward time? Okay, if you're not willing to sit down with me and answer that question, then you're a deadweight, because that's how much money I need. Donald Trump. So right there, if that's not a reality for you, go enjoy your OpenAI ethics that's going to kill you inside a Scheidler or whatever. The coordination between generational capital platforms reduced catastrophic downside while preserving development upside, and asymmetric risk architecture characteristic of multi-decade empire building. Thank you very much.